Hello students, today I bring for you a new chapter and that is Organisms and Populations. It is an easy chapter of class 12. So let's see this chapter. The topics we include that populations only in your NCERT given, but there are many subtopics are there. So let's start this chapter with this PDF. Here, first of all, population. A population is a group of individuals of same species that live in a given geographical area, share or compete for similar resources and potentially reproduce. Example, all the cormorants in a wetland, rats in an abandoned dwelling, teakwood trees in a forest tract, bacteria in a culture plate and lotus plant in a pond, etc. Population ecology means it is an important area of ecology as it links ecology to population genetics and evolution. First of all, population attributes: birth rate, death rate, sex ratio, age pyramid and population density. These are the main 5 population attributes are there, which we are going to discuss. First of all, birth rates. Here you see it refers to per capita births. Example, in a pond, if there are 20 lotus plants last year and through reproduction 8 new plants are added, hence the current population is 28. So the birth rate is the new plants added, that is 8 upon the last year population, that is 20, equal to 0.4 offspring per lotus per year. Same as death rate, here it refers to the per capita deaths. Example, 4 individuals in a laboratory population of 40 fruit flies died during a last week. Hence, the death rate equal to the number of individuals died upon the total population, that is 4 divided by 40 equal to 0.1 individuals per fruit fly per week. It is the death rate. Next is sex ratio. A population has always a sex ratio. Example, 60% of the population is female and 40% are male. Then coming to age pyramid. It is a structure obtained when the age distribution, that is percentage of individuals of a given age or age group, is plotted for the population. For human population, age pyramids generally shows age distribution of males and females in a combined diagram. Here you can see it is a representation of age pyramid for human population. It is a growth status expanding, that is growing, stable and declining. Here in expanding age pyramid, what we see, the number of pre-reproductive age is more, as you can see, and the reproductive age is also more, as you can see, and then post-reproductive age declined like this. This is called expanding age pyramid. In stable, where the pre-reproductive and reproductive age is equal, it is called stable age pyramid of human population. And in declining, here you can see the pre-reproductive age is very low, as you see, and the reproductive age is also comparatively low, and the post-reproductive age is also comparatively low. This is called declining age pyramid. Next, population size or population density, that is N. It is the number of individuals of a species per unit area or volume. Example, population density of a Siberian crane at Bharatpur wetland in any year is less than 10. It is millions for Chlamydomonas in a pond. This is called population size and population density. Here, it is the number of individual species per unit area or volume. Population size is also measured in percentage cover or biomass. Here you can see example, in an area 200 Parthenium plants and a huge banyan tree are seen, where in a particular area the number of Parthenium plants are 200 but a single huge banyan tree also seen. Here in such cases, measuring percentage of cover or biomass is meaningful to show importance of the banyan tree. Next is total number of is a difficult measure for a huge population. In such cases, Relative population density, that is without knowing absolute population density, is used to. Example, the number of fish cut per trap indicates the total population density in the lake. In some cases, indirect estimation of population size is performed. Example, tiger census in national park and tiger reserve based on pug mark. These are called pug mark, you can see, and fecal pellets. Next is population growth. The population size changes depending on factors like food availability, predation pressure and weather. Changes in population density give some idea about the population, whether it is flourishing or declining. Before starting population growth, let's see the NCERT, what it says about this chapter here. Ecology is basically concerned with four levels of biological organizations, that is organisms, populations, communities and biomes. First, population attributes. Majority of them live in a group in a well-defined geographical area, share or compete for similar resources, potentially interbreed and thus constitute a population. That is a simple definition. A population has certain attributes whereas an individual organism does not. An individual may have birth or death, but a population has birth rates and death rates. Remember, here there are some attributes like sex ratio, here the per capita birth and death, it is the first attribute, and sex ratio the second one, we already discussed. Same example is given. Then the age pyramid also, age distribution, that is growing, stable or declining. Here the same diagram is there, you can see. Pre-reproductive age is more, reproductive age is comes in the middle, and post-reproductive is declining, then it is called expanding. In stable, here you can see pre and reproductive age is equal, likely equal, that is called stable, and declining, that is pre-reproductive age is very low, reproductive age normally medium, and then post-reproductive age is also low, that is called declining. Then population size, technically called population density, designated as N. What is the symbol of population density? It is capital N. So here the same example given. In an area, if there are 200 carrot grass, that is Parthenium hysterophorus plant, but only a single huge banyan tree with a large canopy, stating that the population density of banyan tree low relative to that of carrot grass, amounts to underestimating the enormous role of the banyan tree in that community. Then the tiger census in our national park and tiger reserves is often based on pug mark and fecal pellets. Next is population growth. Here the size of population for any species is not a static parameter. It keeps changing with time depending on various factors, that is including food availability, predation pressure and adverse weather. So there are four basic processes. This topic we will discuss in the PDF, then coming to the NCERT. Four basic processes that fluctuate the population density. First is natality, which is denoted as capital B. Natality means it is the number of births in a population during a given period, that is called natality. Mortality means it is the number of deaths in a population during a given period, that is called mortality. Immigration, that is, it is the number of individuals of the same species that have to come into the habitat from elsewhere, from outer sides, outer world, during a given time period, that is called immigration. And emigration, capital E, it means it is the number of individuals of the population who left the habitat and gone elsewhere during a given time period, that is called emigration. Next, natality and emigration increases the population density, obviously, and mortality and emigration decrease the population density. If N is the population density at the time t, then its density at time t plus 1 is N t plus 1 equal to N t plus B plus I minus D plus E. B plus I, natality plus immigration minus mortality plus emigration. Here you can see population density increases if B plus I is more than D plus E. Otherwise, it will decrease. Simple. Next, under normal conditions, birth rates and death rates are important factors influencing population density. Immigration and emigration have importance only under special conditions. Example, for a colonizing new habitat, immigration may be more significant to a population growth than birth rates. Next, coming to growth models. One is exponential growth. Resources, that is food and space, are essential for the unimpeded population growth. If resources are unlimited, each species shows its full innate potential to grow in number. Then the population grows in an exponential or geometric fashion. You can see it is the exponential growth of a paramecium. In day 1, 0, here day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, and then in day 6 the number is unlimited, uncountable. First of all, if population size equal to n, birth rate per capita birth equal to small b, death rate equal to small d, then the increased or decrease in n during a unit time period will be dn upon dt equal to b minus d. B means birth rate minus death rate multiplied by n, which is the population size. Let b minus d equal to r. Then here you can see dn upon dt equal to rn. See the growth curve. Here the population density and the time period. Here A, exponential growth, J-shaped curve will be J-shaped, and B, logistic growth, it is sigmoid shape, like this, sigmoid shape. Okay. Next, the R. What is R? Represent that the intrinsic rate of natural increase is important parameter for assessing impacts of any biotic or abiotic factor on a population growth. Here organism and R value. Norway rate 0.015, floor battle 0.12, human population in India in 1981 0.0205. Next, the integration form of the exponential growth equation is nt equal to n naught or n0 ERT, where n t equal to population density after time t period, n naught equal to population density at the time 0, r is the intrinsic rate of natural increase, and e is the base of natural logarithms 2.71828. Next, there is no population in nature having unlimited resources for exponential growth. This leads to competition among individuals for limited resources. Eventually, the fittest individual will survive and reproduce. In nature, a given habitat has enough resources to support a maximum possible numbers, beyond which no further growth is possible. That is called K, or carrying capacity. Here, this dotted line, it is called K. K stands for carrying capacity. Remember, here in the A, or exponential growth, where the food is unlimited, the growth will goes high. The population density n will be grows high up in a very small period of time. But in B curve, that is logistic growth or sigmoid curve, shows here initially it slows down, and then in some point it goes up, and again, though the resources are limited, K is the carrying capacity, so then it comes to like it equals to the K line, like this. Here dn upon dt equal to rn K minus n upon K. It is the logistic growth or sigmoid curve shows. Next, logistic growth. A population with limited resources shows initially a lag phase. Here in logistic growth, what you see, a lag phase means this growth period is called lag phase. Okay. Then comes to the phase of acceleration. Like this phase is called phase of acceleration. Okay, and then this phase is called declaration. And finally an asymptote. Asymptote means it then goes with the K line only, because K is the carrying capacity, that's why. Okay, this type of population growth is called Verald-Pearl logistic growth. Verald-Pearl logistic growth. Remember, questions are asked. Then Verald-Pearl logistic growth is described as dn upon dt equal to Rn bracketed k minus n upon k, where n is the population density at the time t, R is the intrinsic rate of natural increase, k is the carrying capacity. For most animal population, resources for growth are limited, so the logistic growth model is more realistic comparing to the exponential growth. Then life history variation. Let's see your NCERT what it says about this. Here, same, the four basic processes are there: natality, motility, immigration, emigration. Where the natality and immigration contribute to increase in population density. Here you can see it is the population density. Immigration brings more population. Natality means birth rate also brings more population, so population density is growth. And motility means it deducted, like this you can see, deducted. Emigration also, those who goes out from that particular community, emigration. Okay, next, here you can see the same points are given which we already seen in that PDF. nt equal to nt plus 1 equal to nt plus b plus I minus d plus e. Then growth model, two growth models are there: exponential growth and then is second is logistic growth. So let's see the exponential growth. In exponential growth, resources, that are food and space availability, is obviously essential for unimpeded growth of the population. Ideally, when the resources and habitat are unlimited, each species has the ability to realize fully in innate potential to grow in number, as Darwin observed while developing his theory of natural selection. Then the population growth in an exponential or geometric fashion. So dn upon dt equal to Rn, where R is the intrinsic rate of natural increase. Here some given ideas are there of the R value. Norway rate R is the 0.015, floor petal is 0.12. In 1981, R value of human population in India is the 0.0205, and this type of growth, the exponential growth curve, will be J-shaped curve. Remember the A1, it is the J-shaped curve, like you see. Okay, next, coming to logistic growth, where the food and resources are limited, so obviously there will be competition between all the individuals, and eventually the fittest, who can survive, who are the fit for that type of environment, they will survive and reproduce. Okay, that is called logistic growth. In logistic growth, there will be carrying capacities required, and here three phases are there: lag phase, then phase of acceleration and declaration, and finally asymptote, means the growth is stopped. Here same growth curve is there, and the equation also. This type of population growth is called Verald-Pearl logistic growth. dn upon dt equal to Rn bracketed k minus n upon k, where k is the carrying capacity. Then coming to life history variation. Let's see the PDF. Sorry. Here, life history variation. Population evolved to maximize their reproductive fitness or Darwinian fitness, that is high R value. Under a particular set of selection pressure, Organisms evolve towards the most efficient reproductive strategy. Some organisms breed only once in their lifetime. Example, Pacific salmon fish, bamboo tree, while others breed many times, most birds and mammals. Some produce a large number of small-sized offspring. Example, oysters or pelagic fishes, while others produce a small number of large-sized offspring. Example, birds, mammals. This fact indicates that life history traits of organisms have evolved due to limited abiotic and biotic components of the habitat. Population interactions. Organisms interact in various ways to form a biological community. Interactions between two species is called interspecific interactions, and they include mutualism, competition, predation, parasitism, commensalism, amensalism. We'll discuss briefly about all these. So let's start here. What is mutualism? Now where both the species are benefited. Here plus mark is given. A is a species, B is a species. Both are benefited. That is called mutualism. Competition means both species are harmed, means negative. Here you can see. Predation means one predator is benefited while the other prey is harmed. So plus and minus is given. Parasitism means one is benefited, other is harmed. Okay, parasitism also. Commensalism, one is benefited, other is unaffected, which is 0 is mentioned. One is benefited, other is unaffected. And then amensalism means one is harmed, other is unaffected. Negative and 0 is given. In predation, parasitism and commensalism, the interacting species live closely together. Remember. First of all, predation. Predation means in a broad ecological context, all carnivores, herbivores, etc. are predators. Obviously, above 25% insects are phytophagous. If a predator overexploits its prey, then the prey might become extinct. It results in the extinction of predator. Therefore, predators in nature are prudents. Here are some examples: herbivores and carnivores. Next, predator control prey population. When certain exotic species are introduced in a geographical area, they spread fast due to the absence of its natural predator in the invaded land. Example, the prickly pear cactus, introduced into Australia in 1920, caused havoc by spreading. Later it was controlled by introducing a cactus feeding predator moth. Here, the prickly pear cactus. In 1920s, in Australia, there is no this type of cactus plant is there. So it was introduced into Australia. And as this plant found unlimited food and space resources, it shows the which type of growth? Exponential growth it shows. And within a time, it causes havoc. It causes a tension to environmentalist of the Australia. So then it was controlled by a cactus feeding predator moth, which eats cactus plants. Then it comes under control. Next, predators are usually in biological control method. Predators maintain species diversity in a community by reducing competition among prey species. Example, the predator starfish Piscator in the rocky intertidal communities of the American Pacific coast. In an experiment, all the starfishes were removed from an enclosed intertidal area. It caused the extinction of about 10 invertebrate species within a year due to interspecific competition. Next, defense of prey species to lessen impact of predation. Camouflage or cryptic coloration of some species and frog, some are poisonous. The monarch butterfly is highly distasteful to its predator bird. It is due to a special chemical in its body. It is acquired during its caterpillar stage by feeding on a poisonous weed. Here there are some camouflages you can see, camouflage frog, leaf insect. Next, defenses of prey species to lessen impact of predation. Second is thrones, most common morphological means of defense of plant. Example, acacia and cactus, thrones are there. Many plants produce chemicals that makes the herbivorous sick, inhibit feeding or digestion, disrupt its reproduction or kill it, like the calotropis. Calotropis produce poisonous cardiac glycosides, so cattle and goats do not eat it. Nicotine, caffeine, quinine, strychnine, opium, etc. are defenses against grazers and brewers. Next, second is competition. Here you can see in competition what we see, both are comes in negative. Okay, both are in negative, both the species. It is a process in which the fitness of one species is significantly lower in the presence of another species. Here, interspecific competition is a potent force in organic evolution. Competition occurs when closely related species compete for the same limited resources. Unrelated species can also compete for the resources. Example, flamingos and fishes in some shallow South American lakes compete for zooplankton. Then competitions occur in abundant resources also. Example, in interference competition, the feeding efficiency of one species is reduced due to the presence of other species, even if the resources are abundant. Then, evidences for competition. Abingdon tortoise in Galapagos Islands became extinct within a decade after goats were introduced on the island due to greater browsing efficiency of the goats. Next, second example, second evidence is competitive releases. It is the expansion of distributional ranges of a species when the competing species is removed. Here you see Connell's field experiment. On a rocky sea coast of Scotland, there are two barnacle species, Balanus, which is larger and competitively superior, and Cathamalus, smaller. Balanus dominates intertidal area and excludes Cathamalus. When Connell experimental removed Balanus, Cathamalus colonized the intertidal zone. Next, another competition, Gauss's competitive exclusion principle. It states that two closely related species competing for the same resources cannot coexist indefinitely, and the competitively inferior one will be eliminated eventually. This may be true in limited resources but not otherwise. Here you can see species facing competition may evolve mechanism for coexistence rather than exclusion. Example, resource partitioning. See the diagram. A small yellow bird species forages across the whole tree. Small yellow bird species, as you can see in this diagram. A larger red species compete for resources. Red species compete for the same resources. Okay. Red dominates in middle for the more abundant resources. As you can see in the middle portion, more insects are there, so red dominate in middle for more abundant resources. Yellow adopt a new niche avoiding competition, and the yellow goes upwards like this to avoid competition. It is called resource partitioning. Then it is a division of limited resources by species to avoid competition. For this, they choose different feeding times or different foraging patterns. Example, MacArthur shows that 5 closely related species of warblers living on a tree could avoid competition and coexist due to behavioral differences in their foraging activities. Next, third is parasitism. Many parasites are host specific. Example, they can parasite only a single host species. They tend to co-evolve. If the host evolves special mechanisms against the parasite also evolves mechanism to counterattack them to remain with the same host. Here you can see some examples. Parasitic sap larva emerged from a caterpillar, that is tomato hornworm, cuscata, and head louse. Adaptations of parasites. First of all, loss of sense organs. There is no need of sense organs. Presence of adhesive organ or suckers to cling on the host. These are the suckers you can see. Lamprey and leech. Loss of digestive system. They directly take the digested food material, so there is no need of digestive system in their body, and high reproductive capacity. Okay, they are the adaptations of parasites. Then, life cycle of parasites are often complex. Example, human liver fluke depends on two intermediate hosts, a snail and a fish, to complete its life cycle. Human liver fluke. Malarial parasite needs mosquito to spread to other hosts. Parasitism harm the host. They reduce the survival, population density, growth and reproduction of the host. They may make the host physically weak and more vulnerable to predation. Then there are two types of parasites, ectoparasite and endoparasite. Ectoparasite that lives on the host, endoparasite that lives inside the host. Ectoparasites, here you see, they feed on the external surface of host. Example, lice on human, ticks on dog. Ectoparasitic copepods in many marine fishes. Cuscata plant on hedge plants. It has no chlorophyll and leaves. It derives nutrition from the host plant. And here it is given, female mosquito is not considered a parasite because it needs our blood only for reproduction, not as food. That's why female mosquito is not considered as a parasite. Some endoparasites, parasites that live inside the host body at different sites like liver, kidney, lungs, RBCs, etc. The life cycle of endoparasites are more complex. They have simple morphological and anatomical features and high reproductive potentials. Here, a topic is given, brood parasitism. In many exams, it is asked. So, what is brood parasitism in birds? Here, the parasitic bird lay egg in the nest of its host and lets the host incubate them. During evolution, eggs of the parasitic bird have evolved to resemble the host's egg in size and color. So, the host bird cannot detect and eject the foreign eggs easily. Example, brood parasitism between cuckoo and crow. Then coming to commensalism. Here the examples are orchids growing as epiphyte on mango branch. Here you see orchids are growing on mango branches. Barnacles growing on the back of well. Barnacles growing on back of the well. Cattle, egret and grazing cattle. The egret forage close to where the cattle are grazing. As the cattle moves, the vegetation insects come out. Otherwise, it is difficult for the egret to find and catch the insect. So, in cattle, there is no harm to the cattle, but the cattle egret get the insect. So, in commensalism, one is positive, other will be no harmed. Okay. Next, another example shows sea anemone and clownfish. Here, stinging tentacles of sea anemone gives protection to fish from its predator. Here you can see sea anemone and clownfish. Next, mutualism. Lichens. It is a mutualistic relationship between a fungus and photosynthesizing algae or cyanobacteria. Like lichens, you can see mycorrhizae, association between fungi and the root of higher plants. The fungi helps the plant in the absorption of essential nutrients from the soil, while the plant provides the fungi with carbohydrates. Next, some more examples. Mutualism between plants and animals through pollination and seed dispersion. First, fig tree and saps. Fig species is pollinated only by its partner sap species and no other species. The female sap pollinates the fig inflorescence while searching for suitable egg-laying sites in fruits. The fig offers the sap some developing seeds as food for their sap larva. You can see. Next, another example, orchids. Orchids show diversity of floral patterns. They attract the right pollinator insect, bees and bumblebees to ensure pollination. Not all orchids offer rewards. Another is sexual desect or ophrys, that is Mediterranean orchids. One petal of its flower resembles female bee in size, color and marking. Here you can see one petal will be resembles to the female bee in size, color and marking. So male bee pseudocopulates with the flower and it dusted with pollen. When this bee pseudocopulates with another flower, it transfers pollen to it. It is called sexual descent. Next, if the female bee's color patterns changes slightly during evolution, pollination success will be reduced to only the orchid flower co-evolve to maintain the resemblance of its petals to the female bee. Questions are asked about this sexual descent or ophrys. Let's see the NCERT, what it says. Here, population evolved to maximize their reproductive fitness, also called Darwinian fitness, which is high R value in the habitat in which they live. Some organisms breed only once in their lifetime, Pacific salmon fish, bamboo, but some are only breed many times during their lifetime, mostly birds and mammals. Some produce large number of small sized offspring, oyster, pelagic fishes, while others produce small number of large sized offspring, birds and mammals. So, which is the desirable for the maximizing fitness? Ecologists suggest that the historic traits of organisms have evolved in relation to the constraint imposed by the abiotic and biotic components of the habitat in which they live. Population interaction. Here, interspecific interactions arise from the interactions of populations of two different species. They could be beneficial, detrimental or neutral. Neutral means neither harm nor benefit. Assigning plus sign for beneficial interaction, minus sign for detrimental or 0 for the neutral. Here the table is there. In mutualism, you can see both the species are gets benefited, mutualism. In competition, both will be harmed, negative sign is there. In predation, one will be positive, other will be negative. In parasitism also, one positive, other species negative. In commensalism, one species is positive and other will be neutral. In amensalism, one species will be harmed and other will be neutral. Here, both the species benefit is mutualism and both lose in competition in their interactions with each other. Both parasitism and predation, only one species benefits and the interaction is detrimental to the other species. The interaction where one species is benefited and the other is neither benefit nor harmed is called commensalism. In amensalism, on the other hand, one species is harmed whereas the other will be unaffected. Predation, parasitism and commensalism share a common characteristic, that is interacting species live closely together. Here the predation is there. Same examples we already discussed. The pricky pear cactus introduced in Australia in the early 1920s caused a havoc by spreading rapidly into millions of hectares of the rangeland. Finally, an invasive cactus was brought under control only after a cactus spreading predator, a moth, is introduced in the country. Then you can see in the rocky intertidal communities of the American Pacific coast, starfish Pisaster is an important predator. In a field experiment, when all the starfish were removed from the enclosed intertidal area, more than 10 species of invertebrates become extinct within a year because of interspecific competitions. Here another, some species of insect and frog are cryptically colored, camouflaged to avoid being detected easily by the predator. Some are poisonous. Example, the monarch butterfly is highly distasteful to its predator because of a special chemical present in its body. Interestingly, the butterfly acquires this chemical during its caterpillar stage by feeding a poisonous weed. Next is nearly 25% of the all insects are known to be phytophagous, that is feeding on plant sap and other parts of the plant. It is called phytophagous. Then thorns in acacia and cactus are the most common morphological means of defense. Many plants produce and store chemicals that make them herbivores sick when they are eaten, inhibit feeding or digestion, disrupt its reproduction or even kill it. Calotropis growing in an abundant field. The plant produces highly poisonous cardiac glycosides, and that is why you never see any cattle or goat browsing on the plant. Some more plants having nicotine, caffeine, quinine, strychnine, opium. They are also act as defense mechanisms against grazer and browsers. Competition. In some shallow South American lakes, visiting flamingos and resident fishes compete for their common food, that is zooplankton in the lake. Competition is best defined as a process in which the fitness of one species is significantly lower in the presence of another species. And Gauss and other experimental ecologists did, when resources are limited, that competitively superior species will be eventually eliminate the other species. But evidences for such competition exclusion occurring in nature is not always conclusive. Here, the Abington tortoise in Galapagos Island became extinct within a decade after goats were introduced on the island, apparently due to the greater browsing efficiency of the goats. And here again, Connell's elegant field experiment shows that on the rocky sea coast of Scotland, the larger and competitively superior barnacles, Balanus, dominate the intertidal area and excludes the smaller barnacles, that is Cathamalus, from that zone. And another, Gauss's competitive exclusion principle states that two closely related species competing for the same resources cannot coexist indefinitely, and the competitively inferior one will be eliminated eventually, and the superior one will be survive. And one such resource partitioning. If two species competing for the same resource, they could avoid competition by choosing, for instance, different time for feeding or different foraging patterns. MacArthur shows that 5 closely related species of travelers living on the same tree were able to avoid competition and coexist due to the behavioral changes in their foraging activities. Parasitism. Here, many parasites have evolved to be host specific, and they also have tends to co-evolve. If the host evolves special mechanism for rejecting or resisting the parasite has also evolved mechanism to counteract and utilize them. Here, parasites evolve special adaptations such as loss of unnecessary sense organs, presence of adhesive organs or suckers to cling on the host, loss of digestive system and high reproductive capacity. The human liver fluke, a trematode parasite, depends on two intermediate hosts, a snail and a fish, to complete its life cycle. The malarial parasite needs a vector to spread to other hosts. Next, two type of parasites are there: ecto and endoparasites. Ectoparasites example lice on human, ticks on dog. Many marine fishes are infested with ectoparasitic copepods. Coscuta, a parasitic plant that is commonly found growing on hedge plants, has lost its chlorophyll and leaves in the course of evolution. The female mosquito is not considered a parasite, although it needs her blood for reproduction. The life cycle of endoparasite are more complex because of their extreme specialization. Then, brood parasitism in birds is a fascinating example of parasitism in which the parasitic bird lays its egg in the nest of its host and lets the host incubate them. Example, cuckoo and crow. Then, commensalism. This is the interaction in which one species benefits and other is neither harmed nor benefited. That will be neutral. An orchid growing as an epiphyte on a mango branch and barnacles growing on the back of well benefit, while neither the mango tree nor the well derive any apparent benefit. The cattle aggregate and grazing cattle in close association. Another commensalism example, sea anemone that has stinging tentacles and the clownfish that lives among them. The fish gets protection from the predator, which stays away from the stinging tentacles. The anemone does not appear to derive any benefit by host to the clownfish. Another one is mutualism. This interaction confers benefits on both the interacting species. Lichens represents an intimate mutualistic relationship between fungus and photosynthetic algae or cyanobacteria. Similarly, the mycorrhizae are associations between fungi and the roots of higher plants. Next, plant of rewards are fish in the form of pollen and nectar for pollinators and juicy and nutritious fruits for the seed dispersers. But the mutual beneficial system should also be safeguarded against cheaters. For example, animals that try to steal nectar without aiding in pollination. In many species of fig tree, there is a tight one-to-one relationship with the pollinator species of sap. It means that a given fig species can be pollinated only by its partner, that is sap species, and no other species. The female sap uses the fruit not only as an oviposition, that is egg-laying site, but uses to developing seeds within the fruit for nourishing its larva. The sap pollinates to fig inflorescence while searching for suitable egg-laying sites. In return for the favor of pollination, the fig offers the sap some of its developing seeds as a food for the developing sap larva. Then, orchids show a bewildering diversity of floral pattern, many of which have evolved to attract the right pollinator insect to ensure guaranteed pollination. The Mediterranean orchids offerings employ sexual deceit to get pollination done by the species of the bee. One petal of its flower bears an uncanny resemblance to the female of the bee in size, color and marking. The male bee is attracted to what it perceives as a female, pseudocopulates with the flower, and during that process is dusted with pollen from the flower. When this same bee pseudocopulates with another flower, it transfers pollen to it and thus pollinates the other flower. And with this, we have completed this whole chapter. The story, the examples are most important, questions are asked you. So, remember these things. Thank you all for watching this video, and if you find this one is helpful, then give a like. Do not forget to comment, and new viewers, please subscribe my channel. Thank you. Jai Jagannath.